What's going on, everyone? My name is Tom from Dreadlabs, and today we're going to create with Dread Shapes Volume 2.
Dreadlabs.
Alright, so as you can probably hear and see, I've set up my new webcam, or actually my old webcam, and I got a new microphone stand here. So I hope the audio and video quality will be a bit better. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's just get started. As some of you might know, I released a new Dread Shapes pack this month. And it contains over 64 vector images that you can use in your album artwork, posters, motion graphics, basically anything. And I thought, let's just do a quick little demo on it and see what we can create with it. So the way that I like to use these are in two ways, actually. I like to put them in cover artworks that I still am not sure on how to fill in a certain shape part, and I can just pick one and just drag it in until I change it to like something else. Or the way I use it like most of the time is actually combining these shapes in Photoshop and try to see if I can like make anything cool with it. And I think that's what we're gonna do now today as well. All right, so for example, you got these medable shapes here, and let's just copy this one and I'll paste it into Photoshop. Alright, so we're into Photoshop here, and I can just paste this in, and I'll paste it in as a smart object so I can resize it however I want, because the shape itself is a little bit small. But yeah, if you don't have Illustrator, don't worry, because the Dread Shapes Volume 2 package also comes in PNG files. Alright, so let's create a center here at 1500 by 1500 pixels, and we'll make sure that these triangular shapes will be actually in the center, like this. Alright, so what I like to do is I'm gonna go and add a Gaussian blur to it. And a pretty big one, like maybe 75 or something. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna go and grab another one now. And I'm gonna paste that in the same way, scale it up, and make sure that the center here is just where it's supposed to be. And I'm gonna give this a color overlay. Let's see what we can do with this. Alright, let's give this a cyan color. And I'm not sure about the color, default color here, so I'm gonna give it a color overlay. So what I really like when using blurred shapes is adding a noise layer to this. So I'm gonna add a new layer. Holding Shift Backspace will bring up the fill menu, and I'm going to give it a 50% gray fill. And then I'm going to go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. And I want a fair amount of noise, so let's go with 10%. And put the blend mode to overlay, and as you can see, this will give this grainy, like gradient look, and it's just like a little bit better than if you put this to dissolve. It's a little bit too grainy for my taste, so yeah, I tend to use this method more, actually. So let's make this into a background. So what I think might be cool is to do some chrome overlays on some of these shapes. So let's go with this one. Paste it in as a smart object. Again, make sure that the center is like where you need it to be. Actually, never mind, I'm gonna delete this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually work with 4-way shapes here instead of triplets, because it fits a little bit better in the square artwork, in my opinion. Let's go with this one. Alright, so what I actually like about this one is the fact that it doesn't have a fill. But for the sake of this tutorial, I might want to go and make that inner fill actually, well, filled up. So and that's what I also like about working with these vector packages, is I can just go like this, delete the inner ring here, and now I have another shape that's a little bit modified, and even I can just put it back and then save it up again. But yeah, and I can just like paste in my custom shapes as well. So I'm gonna give this a color overlay of gray, and adding a bevel and emboss here. Let's just reset this to default, actually, and just up the size like a lot, and have the gloss contour to a normal one, and soften this up a little bit. and lower the depth because it doesn't need to be that sharp. I just want to have it be a little bit bigger, like this. Alright, I'm gonna duplicate this, clear the layer style, and remove the fill. So now we basically have an invisible shape on top, but that's gonna change in a minute. So when I click on bevel and emboss again, I'm gonna add another one. So, but this time with a gloss contour of a ring, which gives this like cool reflections. And I'm gonna add some depth, and this will make it a little bit more chrome already. And I'm gonna go and grab an inner glow, and with the inner glow, I'm gonna select a gradient that I tend to use, and I'm gonna put the blend mode to difference. And I'm gonna up the size here because, as you can see, it's really small now, and I wanted to fill the whole thing. Alright, I'm gonna duplicate this layer, and I'm gonna change the inner glow from edge to center. Actually, no, let's just delete this for a second, and I want to go into the gradient of my first one, and I'm gonna delete the black part here, so we can actually fill it up with a color. And then we're gonna duplicate it and put the source to center, put it to normal this time, and just make it a little bit smaller. Or actually, let's put it to difference again. Alright, so now with the bevel and emboss here, I'm gonna go remove the soften and increase this size, I think. Alright, so now I have these three. I'm gonna go duplicate this once more, but I'm gonna remove the inner glow. And with the bevel and emboss, I'm gonna lower the size a lot, so we have like some glow on the edges here. Maybe lower the depth just a little bit. Alright, so now we have some cool chrome shapes here. Let's just group these together and see if we can add some adjustment layers. So if we add a gradient map and we make this into black and white, let's see if we can add some color to it by, I don't know, maybe like a green. And if we set it to hue, alright, so in the background, I think I want to change the color of the cyan one. And I really like this purple, but then I want to go into the gradient map here and make this green a little bit more vivid, I guess. So yeah, by changing the blend mode to color here, that really changes a lot. So let's just make this into a smart object so we don't have to worry about it anymore. And now what I think would be cool is if we do some patterns around here. So let's just open up a new document in Illustrator. I'm gonna go and add some guidelines, or guides actually. I just use them by creating shapes. Alright, so now with these like guidelines set up, I'm gonna go and change my front color to black again and create some, well, I guess squares to put the shapes in. Alright, with these set up, let's just lock these for a second. I'm gonna check out which shapes I want, and I'm gonna just drag them in the document here. Okay, I got like 5 so far. Let's just create a quick black background for a second. Alright, so these are modified so we can actually see them again. So as you can see, some of these are based on strokes, so we can increase the stroke size later, which is convenient because we need to scale these up. So if you don't know, if you go to preferences, which you can access by pressing Command and a comma on the Mac, I think it's Control and comma on Windows. And if you check this box, scale, stroke, and effects, we can actually scale this up, and the stroke width will be preserved. So we're going to use that setting now. But yeah, if you don't want that, just turn it off, and you can adjust the stroke size manually. All right, let's see what we got so far. So this is Serpa serif from High Typings, if you don't know. And I merged some of these to fit in, so they will fit in the square boxes a bit better, I guess. All right, so it's a little bit too wireframey for me now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go delete this one. This one still needs to be a little bit bigger. And I think I'm gonna up the strokes size of these to, I don't know, like 3 maybe, 4. Yeah, that's a little bit better, I think. So let's just select one more that can fit in here. And as you can see, I went with a good old saw blade. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do something custom for these ones, I guess. And then this one I want it to be the same as, well, these ones, but I want to change them around a little bit. So let's just do that, and I'll skip just ahead to when I'm finished with that. All right, so the one thing I want to do is I want to change these up so they are like a little bit rotated, like this. All right, now let's do these ones in Photoshop, I think. So I'm just gonna merge these. And then I'm just gonna go and bring the whole thing in Photoshop. But before I actually do that, I don't like the edge of this rectangle. I think it needs to be a little bit smaller, like this. All right, and now I think we're ready. All right, so we're back in Photoshop, and as you probably saw in the time lapse, I created some guides to go with this. I want to have this in the same fill color as this one, I think, and then I'm going to show you how to create some glitchy raining well, texture thingies, I guess. Let's just go with the color overlay first. All right, that seems a lot more. All right, it's, well, visible now, I guess, compared to the other color. So what I want to do with the text here before we go on with the sides is I want to add a subtle glow to this. And that's because I want to have the grain, I guess, in the same way as, well, the grain here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this noise layer. I'm going to put it all the way to the top. With this, I'm going to go select all of this by pressing Command or Control and creating a new solid color. But I want the solid color to obviously be in the same color green. So now we basically have a solid color which is masked out by what we had so far. But what I'm going to do now is I'll go to Image, Adjustments. Sorry, I'm going to go and blur this first. So I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I'm going to blur this, I don't know, maybe like 2.5 pixels. And now I want to go and add a levels adjustment so we can just make the blur ever so slightly like sharper, I guess. So as you can see, if we bring these in, we can modify the glow a little bit. So what I want to do is drag it in like this, maybe a little bit less. All right, let's see what that looks like. Okay, could be a little bit more subtle. So let's go to image adjustments and levels again. All right, so I think this should be good. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm gonna go and group these ones. Let's see if it, yeah, okay. So I can actually want to have the back here, and I want to give it a 1 pixel box blur, so there will be a soft like background for these shapes to like fall back on, I guess, if it's not visible enough in some thin lines. I hope that makes sense to you. So if we group this, we can do it well, what's called as text or something. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go and add a subtle box blur to make these edges a little less sharp. So let's go maybe with 3. Yeah. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is I'm going to go and create a new layer, group it immediately. And if we bring up our guides again, I'm going to go and make a selection of this rectangle here and this rectangle here. And I'm masking these out. So basically everything that I put in this group now is only visible within these guides. So let's show you by creating some clouds. All right, so this is exactly what we want. I'm going to remove the noise layer for a second, and I'm going to go grab the purple and the green color here, and I'm adding these into a gradient map like this. And I can turn the noise back on. So another thing that I want to do is I want to add a gradient layer, and I want it to go from purple at the bottom to green at the top, like this. Maybe scale it up a little bit. All right, so now we kind of have like this smoky side thingies, I guess. Now we convert these into a smart object, and if we go to filter, distort, and wave. Okay, so if you haven't heard of this, it's really cool to randomize some like wave effects onto an image. I like to combine this with the clouds, so I'm going to keep this to sine, and I'm going to remove the horizontal ones. So we only have vertical like waves, as you can see. I'm going to up the amount of generators, lower the amplitude a little bit, lower the wavelength, so we have a lot of waves, and I think it could be like, okay, so yeah, we can actually definitely up the amplitude here. So yeah, if I remove this for a second, we actually have some really distorted imagery, which is really nice, which you can use now for, yeah, the rest of this background. So the last thing I want to do is I want to go and grab a paper texture, something to print this on, I guess, or make it look like it's printed on actually, because the black background is just a little bit too dark for me. All right, so I dragged in a paper texture from the Dreadlabs paper pack, and I'm gonna make it a little bit darker by using the curves. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to group all of this except for the noise layer. Call this content. I can remove the background here and call this background. And now I want to play with the blend modes. All right, so now it's blended in pretty well. We could use a displacement map on this, but I think it's fine as it is. I think I want to go and grab the curves here and make it a little bit less contrasty. So yeah, okay, so I removed the white speckles here because I think they wouldn't fit. So let's go back into the blend mode and we can bring back the highlights here, like this. Alright guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was really fun for me to create with my own packs every once in a while, like not for client work, I guess. So yeah, so you can get both Dread Shapes Volume 2 and the paper pack in the Dreadlabs web store. If you buy this and you create something with it, please send it to me on Instagram or on Discord or wherever, because I'm really curious to see what you guys can create with this. And I want to take this time in the video to thank my patrons, obviously, because thanks to my patrons, I am able to create more videos for you guys, more Instagram content, more guides, more everything. So yeah, shout out to my patrons. So if you don't know, you can grab this project file together with all of the project files from my tutorials. If you become a patron, you'll also get a 15% discount in the Dreadlabs web store, as well as a special Discord role. So yeah, if you want to become a patron, the link is in the description. And if you have any questions regarding this tutorial, or if you have a suggestion for any tutorial, please let me know in the comments as well. Or you can join us in Discord, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.